Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about credit cards versus debit cards. In essence, we're going to talk about what a credit card is, what a debit card is, and some pros and cons of each. And then we'll end on which one you should choose. Before we get into it, I just wanted to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, and especially comment if you have any other video ideas. So first, let's begin with what a credit card is. So a credit card is essentially a loan. And every time you use it, what you're doing is you're taking out a loan from the bank, which you pay back monthly in the form of your credit card bill. Because it's a loan, it has interest, it has fees, and it has a lot of interest and fees if you don't pay it back, like all of it that you owe every month. However, because it's a loan and because the bank wants you to use their money, there's also rewards like cashback, uh, points, improvement on credit score, things like that. The pros and cons are mostly what I mentioned, like points and rewards and potential to build credit. For those of you that don't know, credit is essentially a score that the bank keeps of how trustworthy you are. So you build credit if like you pay back your credit card loans on time, you pay back pretty much any sort of loan on time, really. Yeah. Ease of use because you don't actually have to have the money in the account, and also credit cards are just easy to use. And risk protection. This is one major difference between credit cards and debit cards that isn't talked about that much. But if a credit card gets stolen, you are basically scot-free, right? Basically, the card's canceled, and you know don't have to do much. You just call the bank, tell them that it's stolen, and problem solved. With a debit card, you still have to pay, depending on the area, possibly up to like $500 of what was paid. If you're wondering why this is, it's because the credit card, it's the bank's money, so the bank does what they can to stop it. But if the debit card gets stolen, it's your money, so the bank doesn't care as much. For the cons, they don't look like much, but these are probably the most important parts of this video, is the credit card cons, right? And it is that credit cards have a risk of overuse and debt because you can spend more than you have, and interest and additional fees. So the main risk with credit cards, in one phrase, is just you can spend too much, right? You can overspend. But let's talk about what a debit card is. So a debit card is just like cash that you take out of an ATM, or like a check maybe. It's essentially this same thing as paying with cash, as I said. It's just a more convenient way of spending money, and it takes the money straight from your own bank account. So it streamlines that whole process, but it's not actually like doing any sort of loan or anything like that, like a credit card is. Because of that, you'll see that there's no extra payments, and and the extra payments that the credit card has, to be clear, are the fees and the interest. It has convenience because obviously it's easier to carry around a single card than a bunch of cash, or like writing checks and stuff. And this is probably the most important pro. The credit card cons were the most important cons, but the debit card pro is the most important pro. That is that you can build good habits, right? This is something that I see very few people do, but it's really important because what you need to do is you need to be able to take like how much you spend, and you need to be able to manage it. And a debit card helps you do that way more than a credit card does. Though, of course, a debit card does have cons, and these are risk of fraudulent activity. As we said, debit cards are liable for way more than you are for credit cards when it gets stolen. Obviously, there's no additional rewards or credit, and there's a limit on spending. So this isn't really uh, a like con, because if you're using because if you're even if you're using a credit card, you should still have a limit, and that limit would like I'd still say don't spend more than you have, obviously. Now let's talk about which one you should choose. And for teens, it's important to start with a debit card in order to, as I said, build good habits. And then the idea is that you can carry on these good habits into your use of credit cards, right? So that way you can get the pros of benefit of like different points and building credit without the cons of overspending, right? And there are some people, and speaking about debit cards, here are two very famous investors, Warren Buffett, or Ramsey's less of an investor, but here are two very famous people who give financial advice, Warren Buffett and Dave Ramsey, and they both believe that debit cards are superior to credit cards in most every way. So yeah, overall, credit cards and debit cards are very different in their pros and cons, despite doing the same thing of paying money. And for teens, I would say start with a debit card. That's all. So thank you guys for watching.